Welcome to week 5. This week we'll be focusing on cases. Now, it's only in recent times that legislation has become the dominant source of law. It used to be cases. There are now volumes of legislation that cover a vast array of topics, and legislation is now also the primary vehicle of change. And that's because it can be proactive. The government can identify areas requiring reform and take appropriate action, whereas when change is needed in the common law, the courts have to wait for the matter to be raised in proceedings, and then it has to get to a sufficiently high enough level to involve overruling previous principle or advancing the law. And of course, there aren't that many cases that end up in the appellate courts. So change is therefore slow and it's randomly achieved in the common law, whereas legislation can streamline the process and be proactive and respond to urgent issues. Now, although Parliament may introduce change through, say, identification within a ministry that a particular change is required, or through recommendations from law reform commissions, just like we're looking at for this research topic, questions regarding ambiguous provisions within the legislation remains a matter for the courts. The courts interpret and apply legislation which produces a body of cases in addition to the common law principles that have developed over time. And of course, you'll remember that there are some areas of the law that remain relatively untouched by legislation, or there is legislation in that area, but it hasn't completely overruled the common law. It's patchy coverage. And that means that cases are still an essential part of the legal research process. You will still need to see what cases you can find in your particular field of inquiry. So don't be fooled, cases are still a very important part of your research inquiry, despite the fact that legislation is now the primary vehicle of change. Now that means that there's no substitute for reading cases, and that can be problematic because some cases are pretty difficult to digest. They're certainly not written with the law student in mind. It can sometimes help to find a textbook or a legal encyclopedia on the topic first, just to give you an overview of the main cases, and then you can then go to those cases and read with already some existing knowledge of what they say and why they're important. That background information will help you comprehend those complex cases a little bit more. Unfortunately, I can't offer you a cheat or a quick fix here. I would love to be able to, and I'm sure I'd make millions of dollars if I could think of something. There's really just no substitute for reading the cases. Obviously, the headnote provides you with a brief summary, but quite often they're targeted towards particular aspects of the case. And sometimes it's the other aspects of the case that might be relevant to your research topic. So there really is no substitute for reading cases that have been flagged in your research as being relevant to your research topic. When you are reading, though, think about the extent to which the law is unclear or can be criticised. When you read, try and identify gaps and problems. Sometimes those issues are actually raised in the dissenting judgments, and they can be a great resource for criticism of the law. So don't just go to journals and books to find your critique of the law. Often dissenting judgments can be really helpful. Academic commentary can be a really great resource, and there's lots of different types of analysis that feature in academic commentary. Sometimes they can explore the theoretical problems, sometimes they can explore the practical problems, or a mixture of both. Sometimes they may look at a particular area of the law and provide a critique of that area of the law, or sometimes they might just focus on one decision, say a brand new High Court decision or appellate court decision, and identify why theoretically or practically that is a problematic decision. Note that all of those might be valid and useful to you in your research project. Just like last week, I've designed a short quiz to help you conduct a skills audit and identify where you might need to refresh your skills when it comes to cases. So please make sure that you have a look at that and undertake that as soon as possible. It will help you pinpoint if you need to, say, concentrate on just one particular database. So take the diagnostic quiz immediately following this video, and then there are a series of relevant videos focused on each database that will talk about, firstly, obviously navigating the databases and finding cases, but also establishing whether a case has been distinguished, overruled, or applied in subsequent cases. So please make sure you check out the videos that you need to focus on in order to refresh your skills.